Hi guys, hey, it's Mike White with Baby Monkey Studios, and I'm going to make a tutorial about the things that have been asked a million times for xcart 4.4.x. So here's our list of questions. How do you remove Powered by xcart? We'll start there. So here's my test cart, and right down here you can see Powered by xcart shopping cart software. Many people would not want to have that on their website. And I think it's kind of a security risk because anybody can search for xcart shopping cart software and find your website and know what software you're using. Okay, so here we go. We go to Content, Edit Templates. Okay, and first I'm going to show you where this is called. It's Common Files. You're in Skin, Common Files, Customer, and here's bottom.tpl. Now here you see it right here. Div class equals left, include file equals main PR notice.tpl. So that's everything that's floating left in the bottom of the footer there. So let's go back to customer, and then let's look at let's go back up another folder, and let's look at main, and here we have PR notice.tpl. So right here, powered by xcart, powered by me, and then you can change the href right here. So we'll change the link to Baby Monkey Studios, and then here's the PR notice.text, and this is just a custom variable that's defined. It's like a language variable almost, and we can just change this to whatever we want. Now this other else right here is just going to display in the admin side, so we don't really need to change that. So let's save, and let's go to our storefront and refresh. And now it's powered by me, a baby monkey. Okay, so here we have a logo that we're wanting to replace in xcart. This is probably redundant for some of you all, but I'm going to save it. I'm going to save it as a GIF. Okay. And I'm going to save it 150 pixels high, which will mean we'll really have to resize some things. So, but it's still going to be nice and big. And so I'm going to save it in my local copy of xcart. And I'm just going to go to Skin, Common Files, Images, and look for xlogo.gif. Save it as that. So now I'm connected to my website, and I'm going to go to the xcart directory and go to Skin, Common Files, Images. I'll do the same on this side. And we just want to upload that xlogo.gif. And replace. Now when we refresh the site, we are presented with a problem. Our logo is so small, it's just jammed up in there. We need this header to be bigger and the image to be bigger. So we'll go to the back side. We'll again go to Edit Templates. We want Common Files. Let me take a moment and just say, if you have a custom skin directory or you're using one of these other skin directories, you really want to make all your changes in that skin directory. Okay, and we could even be making these changes in the 3 columns directory, because that's the skin that I have selected. Common Files is the main skin directory that all these modify. Okay, so let's go to Common Files, CSS, and main.css. Now I'm just going to search for logo. And here you can see the positioning of the logo div, and then of the image, the anchored image inside that div. So we have width and height to change here, and just width here. Now my image is pretty huge. It's 610 by 150. So I'm just going to make this 610, and I'll make this right here 610. And 150. Let's save it. and go back to our front. We'll refresh this page, and we have our logo expanded. And this just sets us up for the problem, which is how do you resize the header? Because obviously, seriously resize our header here. Not surprisingly, we're back at main.css, and we're just going to search for pound header. And there we have the pound header, and the height is defined. Now this height takes into account both this space and this line 2 right here, which is the search and this little bar. Now I'm just going to guess here. I increased it by maybe 80 pixels, so I'm just going to go ahead and make this 220, which is probably too much, but we'll test with that. Now this by itself is not going to fix it. There's no point in showing you, but if you refreshed after making this change, you wouldn't see a change. And that's because we also need to search for pound header line 1. Okay, and there we have it. And this value needs to be 39 pixels less than the other one. So we'll just make this 181 and see how those two work out. Let's save. And let's go refresh the page. And I miscalculated a bit, gave myself too much room here, but you can see the effect. And the problem that this creates is now we need to move this content down. So let's look at doing that. And the next value we need to change is this pound content container. And since I grossly overestimated before, I'm just going to stick with that. 293 pixels is about what I think we're going to need. So let's save and refresh. And again, I keep overshooting the mark, but you get the idea. We can play with that value and get all these in line and pull this up to right underneath the bar. Now there's some other considerations, because if we were to add something to our cart and go to view our cart, you'd see it's not what you'd expect. It's snapped back to the other, the previous values. And so we can definitely work with this. I'm going to show you that in a second. And so that the next value that you're going to want to look for is going to be .checkout container, pound content container, and you can see right there, we've got another margin top to adjust. Basically xcart gives you two different styles of headers to work with. One for the main cart, and then one for the checkout, which can be smaller and more streamlined, which I think is a good plan, but it might really throw off your design if you aren't aware of this. Another one to look out for is .printable pound content container. That has a totally different margin, and your changes might be throwing off the print look of your printable pages as well. So that wraps up our logo and header. Let's look back at our list. How do you remove SKU from product detail page? This one's going to be pretty easy, guys. First, let's look at the SKU. Let's just go to a product page. And here we have SKU, which doesn't apply to a lot of merchants. They want to get rid of it. Now, first I want to mention under settings, general settings, and then appearance. We have this option right here, display product code SKU in the products list. Now, the products list would be, like the category pages or your featured products. And so, I have that unchecked here, and that's not displaying currently in this test card of mine. But we do not have a way to just, click a checkbox and remove the SKU from the product details page. So again, we're just going to go to Content, Edit Templates. And again, I'm in Common Files, but you need to be in your skin directory. And we're going to go to Customer, Main, and look for Product Details.tpl. And I've just scrolled down in the file, and right down here you'll find a row, and it's got the lang label SKU, product.product code. And we're just going to use a Smarty comment to comment this row out, and then save the file. We'll go back to the front and refresh, and our skew is gone. So that one was simple and quick. Let's go back here. How do you move details, options, and add to cart button to the top of the page? So, you know, this cart's been slightly customized. I'll probably revert those changes before I go through this. But I believe he means, you know, this details, options, and this add to cart button, you know, moved up here above the description. Okay, so I've restored my template to default. I've still got some stuff that's wrong here. You know, it's just a test cart, and I've done lots of different customizations that's thrown it off. But let's go back, and we're going to go straight back to customer main product details.tpl, just like the SKU. And this is a pretty complicated template. It's one of the most complicated templates. Lots of different if-else statements. You know, the biggest thing to watch out for is there's this form right here. And then there's a, you know, we need to keep the form, everything within the form, okay? So here's a table, and this table has the description in it. And then the next table, I'm just going to kind of describe, you know, how this works out. It starts here, and it runs all the way down here. It just keeps going on down to about line 220. And that's got all the details. And then the next statements here are about the add to cart buttons, okay, and those end right down here, and then there's, you know, the end of the form. So yeah, like I said, changes on this template can get pretty tricky, but in this case, you know, we simply want to move the description, product description, down below the details. That's what the question was, at least. And so we're just going to come up here and grab this whole table, and, you know, from table to table. And let's just pull it out of there. I'm going to hit Control X, maybe shore up my spacing, and then I'm going to go down to the bottom. And you know, I could probably put it inside the form, but in this case I'm just going to pull it out because there's nothing in the description that needs to be posted. So there we have it. You know, I've got the table posted in down below the form. We'll save it. We'll go back to the front side. Oh, and I actually removed that problem and put it back to a default xcart module there. And there you have it. You know, the details at the top, description down here at the bottom. So hopefully that clears that up. Let's go back to our list. How do you add pictures to the header and footer? Okay, let's tackle that one. Now let me make a disclaimer, you know, that this may not be the best way to do it, but I'm just going to show you one way to do it. You know, I don't know what you're exactly trying to achieve, but I'm going to teach you what I know, and you know, you can adapt it to your needs. So, you know, I'm here in Common Files, Customer, Head.tpl, and this is the template that controls the header. And, you know, let's see, you know, here's the logo, here's the phones, you know, the tabs right here, okay? And you can see, you know, here's the logo, div class line 1, that's the first line of the header. And here's where that div closes. And then there's the logo, and there's the tabs, and there's the phones. So I'm just going to copy this for ease, and you know, come down here below the phones, and just put div class, you know, my image. Okay, I know that's not used, and you know, we can keep in an anchor tag to it. But the image source, you know, I'll just teach you here right about this. This Smarty tag $images_dir is going to go to Common Files /images. Now, if you're using an alternate skin directory, you want it to be alt images_dir, okay, just like that. But you know, in this case, let's just use a default image that's included with xcart. Obviously, you could upload, just like I showed you before, to that Common Files /images directory, upload your image. But in this case, I'm just going to use company small.gif because I know it's already existing. And so, you know, here we've just, you know, created a div in case we need to style it and position it, and you know, place the image with a link around it. So let's save that, and let's refresh our page, and here it shows up. You know, so it's obviously not done what we wanted it to. It's just pasted itself right there. So let's look at how we could, you know, get this moved into position. Okay, so I've just come over here to Common Files, CSS, main.css, and you know, once again, I really prefer you to do this in altskin.css inside your custom skin directory, but I'm just showing you this for simplicity. And I've created this little My Style section at the bottom and just put pound header, which is the main div that it's contained in, dot my image, which is what we named that div around the image, and positioned it absolutely. Kind of the easiest thing to do with this header. I mean, unless you're going to reformat the whole thing, it's easier to just position it absolute, and it's 10 pixels from the right and 60 from the top. Okay, so let's save that and go over here and refresh. And here we have it. It's moved up here right where we told it to go. All right, so that takes care of the header. Now the footer is a little more complicated because of the way it's positioned. Basically this content container above has been shoved up. It has a margin on the bottom, and this has been positioned absolutely. So we're gonna have to expand this area in order to stick an image in there effectively, but we'll do our best just to do that simply. Okay, so I've again come to customer bottom.tpl. I'm just going to use the same code from the last template, the div class my image, and now we're inside box and sub box. Okay, so let's save that. And refresh the page. And you see we get the company, just showing up, not where we want it again. And to make this display correctly, again, we need to style it, and maybe put it over here in the center. And then we want to increase the size of this box in the footer. So I've just come back to Common Files CSS main.css, and we've made another definition about my image, but this time pound footer. And so it's contained in that div, so we can define a style for it. And I've just set the margins to auto on left and right and define the width. Okay, so we'll save and we'll refresh, and you see our image and the anchor has floated over here into the middle, so that div is now right where we want it. So to expand the footer, we're back at main.css, and we're just going to search for footer. And we're going to make this, let's say 79. And then we also need to adjust the bottom margin of the content container. And so let's tell the padding bottom here to be 79. And then let's also change the height of the sub box. And we'll just make that 80. Okay. And this may just need to be adjusted further as you look on other pages of your site. But you see it's bumped everything up and given us some room for our new image. All right, that should take care of that subject. Our last question, how do you make clean URLs for SEO? Now this one's again going to be easy as pie. If you notice up here in the address bar, I'm at product.php with a question mark and a bunch of gobbledygook, okay? And we want that to be a clean URL for Google to read. So what we do is we go to the backside, and we're just going to go to Settings, General Settings, and we're going to go down here to SEO. So on this SEO page, we have some notes to read, and there's some nice explanation here. But down below, we just have Enable Clean URLs, and of course it requires the Apache web server. And so we can just check this box, apply changes. And now when we refresh this page, we're going to be redirected to the clean URL. Except it didn't. So what we need to do is we need to pull up our .htaccess file. And if you look back here on this other page, there's a code for clean URLs right here. And it tells you, edit the file. It tells you right where the path to that file is. So we're going to pull up that file and just insert that code that they've asked for and save it, upload it to our server, refresh the page, and get greeted with our clean URL. Now, there's lots of things you can do with clean URLs. Like you can go to the products, and I'll just search for any product here, and you can go right into the product and adjust the clean URL for that product right here. And you have to follow a good format. I mean, you don't want to use spaces, and it's all described right here. You can also do the same for category pages and static pages. All right, I think that clears up the things asked a million times. I hope it's been quick enough and enjoyable, and I wish you luck in all your e-commerce efforts. Mike White signing off. See you next time.